So let's get into these news, the stories. So Ballyogan, kind of not exactly fresh. It happened last night. A lot of you will have seen it already. So maybe I'll play these videos and sort of fly through them a little bit. So Mick O'Keefe has two videos here, compilations of footage. So let's just start watching. Yesterday.
You ain't coming in, boys. Back to the airport. Bye. You're not welcome here. Get out of our country. Go home. Go home. Bring them home. Straight to the airport. Hard rock them the fucking taxis. Go off.
So yeah, they were bringing them in taxis. I will skip through the stuff a bit. Then the public order unit showed up. They start getting pushy and shovey with people. This superintendent here, really don't like him for some reason. Just, I suppose it's hard to like guards at the moment, isn't it? So it went on like so throughout the day as the guards create a line to get these taxis full of migrants in after the buses failed the previous day. So we went on like that.
This is one of the arrogant ones, guys. Look at this woman here.
Phil Dwyer.
That's what it's all about. But that's why we're all here. Look at that picture. Ballyogan says no. The woman holding a mirror up to the guards. Isn't that great? Isn't that very apt, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I'll kind of talk about it. I suppose I'll just go. Oh, this is that journalist with the smuggest, most like horrible and like, I don't want to say punchable because I condemn violence. But God, what a face. The smug, arrogant D4 attitude on that. And he keeps showing up to just stand there and smirk. It's really weird, actually. I suppose he considers himself a journalist or something. But so then that night is when it really sort of that's the wrong video. Great. I've lost like the main video I was supposed to have. Bear with. Yeah, let's just go with this. Okay, this is different. But oh, just by the way, I mentioned it that they're recently talking about how they're going to start means testing asylum seekers for their weekly benefit. So they get a weekly benefit on top of everything else, house or like accommodation, food, everything. And then they're talking about means testing them for in terms of getting an extra €200 or some whatever it happens to be in the pocket on top of it. But they're not means testing like medical cards and stuff. They still get all that stuff for free. So I'm just thinking in this first video, when you saw these guys driving in and people castigating them on the way in, these Africans in the van, it's like, I just, you know, someone might say, oh, that's not very nice. But again, I wonder how much those lads necessarily care about the fact that if you're a working family with little kids and all of that, and you're €5, which like a ton of people in the country are, you're like €5 over the threshold, you're just in like fucked city basically, because you don't get a dental appointment, you don't get a medical card, you don't get anything, and yet you're piss poor. Everything costs like 30% more than it did just a couple of years ago, but yet they haven't adjusted the means test in accordance with that. So it's like, oh damn, I goofed, I'm Irish, what was I thinking? What are my ancestors thinking? Like having me be Irish, what a disaster! But in my own country, but that's just a little bit of context. And it's funny in this article here. It's Sarah McInerney's show, and they're talking about these like kind of vague nonsense kind of subjects, ignoring the plantation issue quite a bit. But the closest they get to touching on it in their program today is Refugee Council on plans to means test asylum seekers. So Refugee Council are going to come on and say, this is a disgrace, this is racist, it's not fair, or something like that. It's like, the Refugee Council are a state-funded advocacy body with, I mean, partisan doesn't even cut it. They're like a migrant shill account for, excuse me, a bit slightly unwell. For, I mean, what are you having these people on for? Well, like, why don't you get him on and I'll come on as well, and we'll both talk about it or something. It's just really nonsense. But just that's a little bit of context on like the, you know, why are people outraged here? Why is it unjust? I mean, that's just one of a million reasons, but just I'm setting the stage there a little bit too. Look at the superintendent as well.
Your kids and grandkids too.
So he's there trying to be Mr. Mediator, right? The guards are slippery. Now, some of them might be fine personally, like in their own lives. Look at the superintendent trying to be Mr. Community Outreach here. He tries to tell everyone that it's good people going into the centre. How do you know that? Look, the hand outstretched. Look, shaking the hand. I'll tell you now, I would not shake his hand in a million years. No way. So they're standing there, just to clear up what you're seeing there. They're standing there trying to calm everyone down and push them back to say, we're going to push you back out of the way now as we bring in taxis full of migrants who, we all know the story here. I've said this before, but why aren't you at the airport stopping them? Why aren't you busting all the human trafficking, the corruption, the whole lot? You're not busting any of that. You weren't like, you weren't Joseph Puska or someone like that. These people are just like, the guards would overlook them. They don't want to deal with them. They want to deal with vulnerable Irish people, easy targets and stuff like that. They'll avoid they'll avoid the language issue, the PC issue and all that. So they will often overlook just certain types of foreigners. They will often just go for, oh, it's handy, I'll get the Irish in here. I'll push them out of the way. And then I'll outstretch the hand and kind of shake their hand, like, patronize them. He's shaking putting out the hand as if he's like, oh, I'll put it there, buddy. We're all on the same side. As he's standing, helping to create a line where these migrants are being shipped in behind him. Unreal. Look, this kind of thing of like, and he in some other video he says like, come down the station someday, we'll talk. I want to talk. We'll have tea and biscuits, that kind of thing. And it's like, well, no, we're trying to talk. Like, we're trying to like. Actually, there's a poll I should pull up as well, because there's a new poll on how much immigration is the #1 issue in Ireland. I'll find it. But we're trying to talk. Like, the conversation is over. Everyone in Ireland is in agreement that we want this to stop. Every day now you have a line, every other day they're having to bring in like a miniature army of public order unit to beat people up or push them out of the way to enforce this. That's not something you do for a policy that generally has any level of consensus among the public. So this whole idea of like, come down my station, we'll talk about it. I'm here to listen and we'll have a community chat or something. It's like, you're standing, you're with a miniature army here pushing us out of the way. We've seen what you've done in Newtown, Mount Kennedy and elsewhere. And you're currently forcing us out of the way while you push in these migrants that the whole country is in almost unanimity to be against. And we're ruled by this completely foreign alien government that just won't listen to us. And you're working on behalf of them. And you've your scaldy paw outstretched in front of me. Get that thing away from me. Get away from me. You're a foreign, as far as I'm concerned. I would consider that person, and I have to be choosy with my words here, I would consider that you're a foreign occupying force, just like the Black and Hands, or just like some invading army with some sort of garrison or units or whatever patrolling around the place. That's all you are to me. So I don't shake your hand. You're not, to me, you're not a guard. What we grew up thinking about is our Gardaí or whatever. You're not that. You're some sort of, mercenary occupying unit. I'd get your hand away from me. And that's how I would consider it. But I want to find this poll here. I know it's somewhere in a chat here. Sorry to put you out here now, but it should be here, bro. Oh yeah. So this was from a poll in the Irish Independent today, and look how quickly the numbers. It was only about a week ago I told you in some stream a week or two ago how much the numbers were going up in just the last year, and since then it's gone drastic. So this is just one poll, but local elections 2024. What do you believe is the main issue up for this local election? Number 1, immigration at 57%. Number 2, housing at 24%, and it goes on from there. Law and order, health, rural services. But almost, so and housing is, we all know how big an issue housing is in Ireland, but people have recognized that, well, housing, health, the rest of them, they all are sort of downstream from immigration anyway. It seems that people have clearly recognized that, because immigration is now ahead of housing twofold. So 24 versus 57. So it's well over twice the issue housing is, even though there's the same issue, but people recognize that now. So again, the consensus is there. We know what's going on. So this Scaldy superintendent, and the thing is, what I feel about people like him is like, I almost feel sorry for them, because whether he's a guy like he is, or he's some big massive, hoorah beard and roided up and tough guy, special forces looking public order unit guy, which are like, you don't see a lot of them, but some of them are. I don't care about physical stature. You're all little men to me. That's how I see it. And I think that's how most Irish people, that's how a small woman, even old woman, will see them. All I see in front of me is a little man. You're a non-person. You're a non-man. You are a eunuch. And you're sort of, you and your kind will be remembered in history. You're like the invisible men. Like, just, no guts, no heart, no soul, no dignity. It's a very sad thing. And a couple of years ago, I wouldn't have said that. I would have said, well, they're stuck in the position, or their job, and the political situation is unfolding, and you could see how they might be sent down there. I've spoken about this too recently, but we're far enough down the road now that it's like, listen, we're in major historical times. We're in not quite Cromwellian, but like, we're getting there. We're in Plantation of Ulster times here. There's no distinction between then and now. This isn't just some bit of politics. You are collaborating with something that no one can claim to be ignorant of. So again, get your hand away from me, is what I would say to him. So this was just this is a point that Jana London made. I'll watch the video first.
Here.
Look at the amount of guards there. Look, they pushed this guy over now, look. Or have they done it already? Wait now. Look, boom.
Here. Assault. Fucking assault.
They didn't have to do that. And what I'll tell you now, I'm no expert in policing or any of that, how they work, but it's quite clear this is how it operates, in my view, is that they will have their orders, basically. I've seen it enough times, to a certain point, they just kind of stand there, and they're like, oh, we're just holding the line, please step back, in the interest of public order, I'm going to have to ask you, they'll do that. And they, like dogs, with the Pavlovian, that's bad, and it's not really relevant, Pavlovianism, but like, they're sort of like some sort of robot or something with a command, where they'll do that whole, like, I'm just an officer up standing in a line, ensuring there's public order and safety and all that. There's clearly a command given, some sort of buzzword that they get, some sort of order, and they have their hand signals and their radio comms or whatever. But there's, from the top, there's some sort of signal or some sort of thing that said code, where, and they've obviously drilled for it all the time, where it's like, now you're just going to instill terror. Now you're going to walk forward. You see it all the time. They push a random person out of the way, a person who isn't actually, they're not attacking you. They're just kind of standing around. You go up and you push, and basically you're covered, you're immune. You won't get done for police brutality or anything. When you go into this mode, you're covered, and we expect you to get nasty. And they do. And you see it. So it's like that whole thing where one of them has the hand outstretched to shake your hand, or one of them is saying, oh yeah, if you could just stand back. These people are ready at a minute's notice, these public order units and stuff, to batter you. Like, that's what it is. Like, so they're one little command away from just doing that indiscriminately to an old lady, to some half crippled guy, to anyone. So like, just remember, they're there on that basis at all times. They're just one command away, and there may be justification for it or not. That's how threatening these people are in your presence. And that's how hostile and alien they are, in a sense. So I think the video just kind of goes on like that. I'll kind of show you more videos in a while, just to demonstrate how weird it is. But one of the things I noticed last night, I'll tell you I'll tell you my overall thoughts on this before I watch a few more clips, is that there's this kind of the new wrinkle I found last night in the reaction to this. And again, I'll just say, right, I condemn all illegal activity, promote peaceful political change exclusively, and a robust debate in the free and open marketplace of ideas. But with that said, as an observer, I'm a YouTuber here, right? Talking into a camera. With that said, it's kind of like, as an observer, just an analyst, I'm looking around online last night and I see this marked change in tone. No one in specific, just across the board. Anonymous people, not anonymous people, everyone seems to be sort of watching what happened there after what happened in Newtown Mount Kennedy, and then this happens in such a kind of brutal, negative, horrible fashion. And we've crossed the point politically and in public discourse where, since Newtown Mount Kennedy, there's no debate left. Any more violence that happens now is just completely unforgivable, and sort of like, there's no, like, Newtown Mount Kennedy was a new level, and so we were just kind of like, shell shocked a bit watching it. Whereas now we're like, okay, is that the mode? So this is the first time they've kind of repeated that mode so we're like, okay, we had our whole discourse around Newtown Mount Kennedy, reacted to it, grieved, got angry, and now they're just doing it again. And so there's this sort of sense of futility there, which leads to anger. And what I noticed among a lot of commentators, of just random posters, people, was this level of anger where, it's like the futility of, this whole thing of like, those who make peaceful revolution impossible, etc. There's this kind of tone among people of, there's not a whole lot more left to say. And whether that means you just, there's just this unstoppable tyranny that's at play, and this is just our future now forever, or this kind of getting battered by guards and ignored and all of this, or whether it means you don't have that happen, you just give up and go home and just accept whatever order this is, tyranny we live under. And then, of course, there's the third option, which is that you oppose it more, we'll say, right? A lot of people were talking like that like, listen, what needs to be said has been said now. They've declared what it is. They're not listening, and they just keep doing what they're doing. And so the cards are now just all on the table. And like, I'm discussing ideas here and on YouTube, and I'm all of that, but that kind of idea, and it's one of those things where I'm speaking like totally sincerely here. I'm a commentator, and it's, in a way, I try to come on and put, like, I'm not like a spin doctor type of person, but I'm trying to, sometimes if there's a mix of negative and positive, I will try to accentuate the positive and say, well, that negative is in some context, and look at the positive, look at the positive, constructive side of it, and all of that, and look bigger picture. But when I see that kind of discourse online, and I'm looking at it thinking, well, I've said my piece about Newtown Mount Kennedy, I've said my piece about the rest of them, and now I see this discourse online, and what do? Come on and say something about, well, this just adds, sort of creates more, and this is a genuine point, it creates, think of how radicalizing this is. Think of a 13-year-old or a 21-year-old or some young person at this, who showed up and saw tyranny in their face. I never saw that as a youth in Ireland, about regarding any issue, really, as far as I can remember. So I think there's an imprint left on you, and we saw a lot of the kids were kind of mouthing the kind of slogans of their parents, unvetted males, we don't want these people here, and all that. So the kids are being kind of raised on this now by a lot, increasingly more adults in their home. It's like they're being raised on the way Catholics would have been raised in the 70s in the north of Ireland, about how discriminated against we are, and they are, it's in their mother's milk, that kind of thing, that fervor. And so these kids are already getting that, and then they go down to protest, and it's all fun, and everyone's down there. And I saw one guy, he was like maybe 20, in his early 20s. He had a boxing, he was doing pads, and these little girls of about 6 or 7 were punching the pads, and it was lovely. It was like, there's a nice atmosphere, and we are opposing something, but it's from a good place, actually. It's from a communitarian kind of place, and this is positive in a sense. And maybe you have a guard, some slippery little, the superintendent comes down, tries to shake hands or whatever. And you're thinking, okay, yeah, we're pushing back, get them out, Ballyogan says no, or whatever. And then the night comes and these robots show up, and start battering women and ordinary people standing there, that will, a 15-year-old who was there in his own community with his parents and saw that happen, he or she will never forget that, never ever forget that. And that's an extremely radicalizing thing. And even for adults just across the country, like, as we're being made a minority, the Irish people in general, to a greater extent, both numerically and then in terms of the depth of it on an individual level, the radicalization will be spreading like wildfire. Someone who 3 years ago would have thought, gosh, it'd be a bit dicey. I don't know if I'd criticize immigration. Maybe we went everywhere. Sure, didn't we all go to America or something? They would have been like somewhere there. Like, whereas now they're like beyond. They've gone through all those stages and they're beyond where I'm at. Like, I'm meant to be Mr. talking about it far right or something, and yet they're beyond where I'm at. I mean, they're saying things like they're way gone. So you know, the escalation and the radicalization is massive from these things. So in a way, like, my narrative, which is, it's not just idle rhetoric. I think it is true. The radicalization effect is sort of like, here's why it's not spin, is because I admit that it's a negative thing when something like this happens. Let's say, I'll go on big screen here. It is a negative thing when something like this happens. I don't deny that. But what I'm saying is, just out of that, there are positives in a grander sense, longer term sense. And yet, with that said, when something like Ballyogan happens last night, I'm increasingly struggling to, when I see people commenting online, like as I described, I struggle to, like, you know, unironically, I will say, I want to politically sort this out. I want to have discussions. I want to reconcile with the deep state, the regime, and sort of the technocrats and all that, and say, listen, I don't think some sort of all out, like, the most radical person you can find, their vision of a revolution and all of that, I don't think it's tenable. We live in a world with aeroplanes and globalized power structures. We have some of that. And so my simple contention is that Irish people should be guaranteed majority rights, just like in Mexico, Israel, these places, China, obviously. We should have majority rights. That shouldn't be controversial. We should have our demography, our culture, and our heritage, and our nation statehood as the state forming peoples protected, with some minorities there, right, as is. And also, you know, just because you need a few thousand foreigners to have ease of access in and out of Ireland to work at the semiconductor fab in Intel and Leixlip, that doesn't mean you need 5,000, you know, certain people from Romania and other places and all of that shoved into, like, stacked into military barracks in Mullingar and hotels in Cahersiveen just as state dependents by the hundreds of thousands in the bigger numbers. You know, I just want to talk. You know what I mean? Can we just talk? Like, you know, I think I can actually have a lot of what I want, and the people who I represent or speak for in some sense. I think I can actually bring that to the table, and I think you can have some of what you want as well. I think we can discuss, like what I did with Keith last night. We could discuss the demographic thing. Let's talk about it. You say there's a pension bomb, all this. Let's talk about it. David McWilliams, let's talk about it. Let's have that conversation. Let's move forward. And we don't have to have all this, let's just say, a pretty scary future ahead of us. Can we please just do that? I sincerely want that. And yet I see that last night, and I see the response to it online. And so in one sense, I want to talk to David McWilliams, or a regime representative. On the other hand, I want to go back to the base, to the Irish people, to nationalists, to people, local people who are against it, and see what happens. I want to, at the other hand, I want to go back to them, or to you, maybe at the viewing audience, whoever it is, and sort of be able to say with legitimacy, you know, okay, as is, what have I got left to offer you? Sort of, what have I got left to say, really, as things just keep going on like this? And so, I don't know. I'll just leave it there. I don't know. But so with that said, like, this tweet, just Jana London said, in response to these videos, she said, Ireland has fallen. And then she said, if this is not a civil war, what is? And that comes back to that same theme, which is like, well, yeah, it's getting harder to deny what's staring us in the face, in a sense. and I condemn all this stuff, and I want this peaceful political discourse and all, as I've said. But like, it's not. This is not me like declaring something. I'm just observing something, as I think Jana is, and most other people are. Which is like, it's you don't even have to be declaring something or anything like that, but you just have to be looking at it as is, as a peaceful person who's sitting at home looking at its screen, so totally uninvolved in anything, and yet you're looking at what is going on from the state's side of things, and you kind of think, well, yeah, if this is not, whether the term is civil war, something like that, what do you call it? What, like, again, terminology, this isn't just, oh, a bit of protest argy bargy. There's a bit of political consternation out there, and it's a bit back and forth. And if this were like diluted by about 10 times, you might describe it as such. Oh, well, there's this migration kind of disagreement, and it's very heated in the country. And there was one year where there was a Garda scandal with beating people up, or there was someone hurt or whatever. But when it's, and I mean this literally, when it's every other night, right? And there's no sign of change, and the consensus among the public is as stark as it is, and the regime is as unrelenting as it is, and again, it's happening every other night, then what are we to, what is this, right? And it's very not good. So, and then she says, the government has turned on its people. The Garda have turned on the people, attacking women and the elderly. Every Irish man in Ireland and around the world should be coming back to stand up against this tyranny and abuse. I actually agree with that. I know it sounds a bit away with the fairies in a sense. Like, some people say, why, you expect a guy to pack up his job in Australia to come back for like the cause or something. But it's kind of like, well, that is how serious it is. And I saw someone remark recently that, some of our best people are abroad. Some of the most sort of vigorous, virile, strong, brave men and all of that, they're in Australia, they're here and there, Canada and the rest. It's kind of like, if you're over there and you happen to be listening, it's kind of like, maybe do consider coming home. You might have other reasons that you're like you're on the fence about it. Let this be your come off the fence thing. It's more than just a calculation of, well, which is better for the house and the family and this and that. If you're on the fence like that, let this be your come off the fence thing. Come back to be here for this time in history, because I'm not even joking. We need you. We do. Like, if you look at what's happening here, they have these paid, largely Irish men in these stupid uniforms going around beating people up like zombie robots. So I think we can't have women and children getting beaten up like this. We can't just sort of allow this situation. And so, again, I'll just clarify, right? So when I say strong men need to come home for this scenario, what I mean is they need to come home so that they can take place in the robust, free and open marketplace of ideas and cast their vote, obviously. We need them to come back for the vote, right? So they can vote. We need them, So anyway, next kind of video, it's just a bit more on this, just to show you the scale, right? Look at this.
Costing a fortune, this operation.
Is this the one I was thinking of? Look at the amount of, I mean, again, back to the point of like, what is this? Look at the amount of vehicles there. This is just people, a bunch of women, children, men, all sorts of people, but like including a lot of women and children, or at least during the daytime, standing there being like, we're putting a few chairs down, we're putting up a few signs, we're blockading this thing, we're saying, just like someone would about a tree being cut down, or about wind farms, or about some local issue or whatever. It's a protest. They are actually entitled to it to some extent, and also it's a right, but also it's an obligation in a sense as well to their own community, and they're supported by the vast majority of the public. So again, they're very within their rights to be there in every possible conceivable sense of that. And yet you have here, it's more like a miniature army unit, really, like with all these trucks down here.
She's costing a fortune, this operation.
You'll see now there's a helicopter.
How much does this operation cost?
I know, yeah, look. And the top.
That costs a few quid to keep in the air too.
I mean, is that not something you would see in an occupied nation, right? That's the thing we have to kind of accept. In some occupied nation where there's some sort of like insurgency and there's some sort of regime control and occupying force and whatever it is. I mean, insurgency and political or communitarian and like sort of insurgency of sentiment, protest, and strong feeling. Well, what would you expect? Like hundreds of heavily, sort of geared up men in uniforms, a bunch of vehicles, all this preparation, and a helicopter flying overhead. I mean, that's not ordinary. Like a couple of guards come down and say, "Okay, let's just monitor this protest" or something like that. This is. We have to start seeing it for what it is. This is almost like a military occupation. Look at the amount of Gardaí here now. The
I want to get videos.
Public Order Unit or whatever they are, stormtroopers. I know.
What's that?
I think it's in this video anyway. If I'm not wrong.
What the fuck? It's like an army.
I hear just like Germany, so it is.
He says it's like Germany, like Germany in World War II. He says.
World War II.
Okay, just like side note, I don't want to go off like here, but say what you want about Germany in World War II, or Japan, or the UK, or America, or any other country, right? But like, say what you want, but I don't think they were doing this, to be honest, on a just purely factual historical level. I think it was very far from doing this, is what was going on at back then. But regardless, he is right though to say it's like an army. And bear in mind, I'm not trying to patronize this guy, but I'm live streaming here. I've been thinking about this for a day or two, watching it, and this is kind of like my gig. Like, you know what I mean? This is what I do. I'm decent enough at it. I spend my time thinking about this. There's a guy who's just going recording and he's reacting on the fly. He hasn't had some big narrative in his mind. And his first instinct is to say it's like an army, which is exactly what I said, right? That's the first instinct. So it's like that tells you that it really is the truth, is that's how it comes across to someone instinctually in the moment, doesn't it?
I hear just like Germany, so it is. Back in World War II.
These are just ordinary people on the right. Look at these are just like kids and stuff, right? In their community.
Look at this, guys. This is mental.
Yeah, so the main thing I just wanted to show you was the amount of them there, like, and there's another video from another angle, similar kind of thing, just to get an idea, like, really feel what went down here. Look at the amount of them.
RD bastards, you aren't wanted down here. Go back to Drew Harris. Go on back. RUC down here in Dublin. Look at them. Fucking scumbags. RUC in Dublin. Look at Drew Harris's minions down here in Dublin. Come on, folks. There's 800 is in here. We outnumbered them. We outnumbered these scumbags. Drew Harris's minions. That's what you are. Look down here. Where's your pepper spray? He's got your pepper spray like you did to Newtown. Is that what you're going to do to all of?
Yeah. Yeah, so this guy thinks we outnumber them. I mean, I'm not saying anything. But what I mean, yeah, so that was there. Here's another video of it, just again, different angles of scale and stuff, right? Look at that. And there's more over the other side too. So yeah, it's just it's mad enough. It's mad enough. What am I on to now? So this was a girl. You can't see it fully here, so it's kind of like the evidence isn't great. But clearly the guy recording saw I know when you're there with a phone, your eye sees it better and you kind of hear and you have a better tactile feel of what's going on. Clearly, the guy, what he's saying, I think, is the case. So, Ballyogan teenage girl battered in the back of a Garda vehicle. But again, this is the thing of they're given the command where it's like, okay, now gloves are off. You can just start terrorizing people. You know, you can go from nice mode where I'm just standing there being a guard. Okay, please step back or whatever, to no, rough. Like the whole point now is to manhandle people for its own sake. It's kind of a policing tactic.
Very aggressive, him, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
Hey! You have that on camera. That's just live. Here. That's fucking disgraceful. Carry on now with you. Get this gun's number. She's a disgrace, huh? You need to be removed, you do. You need to be drug tested. Here, what's your number?
And just listen to the crowds, listen to this kind of shrieking and all of that, and the passion in his voice. Again, like we're at a point where people are extremely angry, and you know, you're at these demos and you see people, like it's not all people who've been at this for years, and yet they fully get it. They know all about Newtown Kennedy. They know where we're at, the stakes. It's not like people are walking into this now, they haven't heard of what's going on. You know, it's some sort of fresh thing. So people are so enraged about it. And just about Garda sort of brutality, I've heard stories from, and this is a general thing with the guards, but I've heard stories from nationalists who've been arrested for nonsense, right? Arrested for bullshit, not actually for having done anything wrong. Things like public, you've been ordered to leave and they kind of stand around, they get arrested. Where the guards will rough you up, they will put handcuffs on way too tight, try to mess up your hands and your wrists. And there's stories of people being, you know, being taken in by the guards and coming out the next day with a lot of bruises, we'll say. So again, you know, these aren't the guards you grew up thinking existed or whatever. And so this was following all of this. This is the next little kind of thing, is that I don't know how true this is. I'm not doubting RMTV here who posted this. I'm not doubting their journalistic integrity, but you know, who did they hear it off? Who did that person hear it off? I don't have it myself. I can't stand over it. But just in majority of staff, this is today, I think. Yeah. Majority of staff at Ballyogan iPass Centre have stood down from their duties. Security staff and cleaners are amongst those. All Irish people who are not willing to take part in this plantation. Now, not to say I told you so, but I did say this only a few days ago, and I stressed how important it is that people need to start shaming, whether it's guards or someone making tea in the plantation centre. I don't care what it is, putting up fences, construction work. Whether they listen to it or not, they need to be shamed as absolute traitors. And the excuse that I'm just doing my job and I just need my soup, you know, I just need to slurp the soup. That's not good enough. That's not good enough. We could all find something else to do. And so you have your choice to make now. Ignorance isn't an excuse. And I do think, like, this is just I don't know how, you know, I can't verify this claim here, but it sounds pretty likely to me that as time goes on, yeah, you won't have Irish working at these things. They just won't want to be part of it. Think of what it's like being behind that fence working in there. Horrible as an Irish person. And so you'll get to a point where it's basically foreign occupied for the asylum spoofers. Everyone who works there is foreign. And then you have these Gardaí outside who their own, maybe over time, their resolve will start to crumble. And they'll have people within their own ranks who start to go, you know, one way or another, I'm not doing this anymore. Because, like, a lot of guards there, you know that if there's 100 guards lined up there, there's probably a majority of them agree with the protesters, right? And yet they still have to follow orders. But, you know, maybe if they do it in Ballyogan and then they're because there's only so many of them, they're reassigned to some other part of Dublin 5 miles up the road and they have to do the same thing. Maybe after 3 of those, it starts to wear on them and they start to think, is this what I am? Like, I thought I was sort of going to either be a pencil pusher or dodging phone calls or just kind of go for my pension. And maybe the odd time I would do a valiant stopping of a crime or help someone here and there. And I just flow through my career. I never thought I was going to be some sort of this kind of like almost like a military sort of imperial occupier force or whatever. Like, and this isn't just something I've been asked to do once. All right, fair enough. I just swallow it and do it. This is becoming routine now. I definitely, I can't be doing this. Like, they'll start to recognize maybe the team, you know, because as it goes forward, like I said, it's every other night. Well, soon it'll be every night. Soon it'll be 2 places at once in a night, and it'll be escalating all the while. And the political backing of the anti-plantation movement, the stuff I'm talking about, will just deepen and deepen and deepen and grow. And so they will start to think, yeah, okay, so basically I'm on a full-time job now, imperial occupying military police force against my own people. Maybe that'll start to wear them down, possibly, over time. So we'll see. So by creating the shame, and it's warranted, by creating intense shame around this, it might start to degrade their capacity a little bit. And so regarding that claim about Irish workers not there anymore, liberal.ie, sorry, I have a bit of a cold. Liberal.ie said, as this is from today as well, as Irish workers walk off site, foreign security workers are drafted into work as security at Ballyogan's migrant centre. This is the stuff of a revolution. Please follow and share. So just watch. So they're bringing in, it appears from these videos, bringing in foreign workers perhaps to replace the Irish staff. And look at them. This is just so alien. Oh, and even here's the thing, right? Now, someone could say, oh, they're intimidated or whatever. I don't think it's just that. I mean, there could be an element to that, perhaps. But, I mean, even they know, like, think about it. You're in Mongolia or something like that, right? And you're on the flip side of it. You're some form of migrant. You're being brought in, and there's people banging on the window saying, we don't want you here, la, la, la. There's people saying, we're being oppressed. You're being given all this sort of states' rights, these doles and stuff like that, free houses. We're not getting any of that. It's unreal. Like, we're really suffering, and you're being brought in, weaponized against us by our own hostile regime. And also, we're becoming a minority in our country, probably over the course of about 40 years, start to finish. And that's obviously an invasion. And so whether like you are a good guy or not, you're a part of this. And ultimately, we don't want you. And next thing, you're brought in as security for the centre and stuff like that. I know myself anyway, I'd be handing in my lanyard or whatever and be like, fuck this. I'm not doing this. Like, I'm not Mongolian. I don't have Mongolian shame against my own people, but I have shame as a human being. I mean, what am I involved in here? Like, this is nuts. And so whether that's what these guys are thinking or not, it's definitely part of it. Like, there's some sort of, even they know how shameful it kind of is, because look at them all covering their faces.
Tall covering faces, huh?
So yeah, that's that. Excuse me. Just pause that one. So next we have Tallaght. So I'll get on to Tallaght now, but just a what'll I do? I said that whole thing about flogging the links and all that. Super chats are there. You can leave a super chat. You can support the channel. You can follow me on Rumble, Twitter, Telegram. You can subscribe here on YouTube. All the rest of that, just a reminder. So that's that. And as just a little brief note as well, before I go on, is that if you want to share this with your friends, the whole story of Ballyogan, watch this 1 hour video. Your man talked about it pretty well. He went through the videos. It's a one-stop shop. Let's say that's what you want. Then you download this video. You go back from about 60 seconds before me speaking right now, and then you shave off the first 8 minutes where I talked about other stuff. And there's your video, and you send it on. It's just a good, if you're wondering about like, well, it's long and there's certain things I want and don't want, clip it, share it online, send it to your friends or whatever. The videos, I'm not copywriting or bothering anyone with that. So it's just a good option for you if you're thinking about it that way. Because I would think like that if I was watching and wanted to share it around. So anyway, with that said, I'll get on to Tallaght. So this is Ballyogan, Dublin, just last night. And now today, same thing in Tallaght. Well, not quite the same, but something like it. They successfully put these planters in, public order unit, huge outrage. There's some funny stuff here as well, actually. The level of feeling on this. And so when I said, oh, it's every other day now, well, in this case, it's every day, right? Because it was yesterday, today, and there'll probably be another one tomorrow. And I might be back here tomorrow evening to give my take on it again. But so this is Tallaght. This is from the account Nobody Knows at Ditto KNO. Says, look at the amount of Gardaí available to force migrants into communities while pushing the locals aside. This time, Tallaght, Dublin. Some asylum seekers resident at these centres have already committed serious crimes and more to come. Criminals are being planted, aided by the Gardaí. before I watch these videos, it's 2 or 3. This is much shorter than the previous kind of segment. I just want to make a point as well, is that Tallaght is one of these places, when you're around the square in Tallaght, somewhere there, like one of the worst spots in Ireland for demographic replacement. You know, you could walk around just around the hospital and the square in Tallaght, and literally everyone is foreign, right? And now that might be different in different areas of Tallaght. That might be very Irish, very working class, very robust and strong. But, you know, in Tallaght, kind of central, you can look around and think, asylum seekers or not, just everyone here is a foreigner. And it's a really grim place, I'll be honest with you. No offense to anyone there, right? But it's like just these new build blocks all over the place. And just like, it's the most, like, culturally, speaking of cultural diversity and all that, it's the most culturally and deprived, empty, dead, inhuman type of scenes you can ever see in your whole life. Even if there's no violence going on, and even if which there often is, but even if there's not, just the timbre or whatever, that place is awful, right? I wouldn't want to live there as an Irish or a foreigner or whatever. And again, that's soon to be the entire country plastered as we need to develop Ireland, and so it'll be like that east to west coast, right, north to south. But it got me thinking, a Tallaght like that, you bring in a plantation centre. This is one of the problems, and this is why they want to get rid of the Irish, I think, because we have a connection to this place, is that if you want to bring a bunch of asylum spoofers into an area that's at least 70% Irish, like it's just still largely Irish, you could get a lot of pushback, right? People will push back because they go, this is our country, this is our community, we don't want this happening, it's unfair, we have a mandate, we're well within our rights to oppose it, and so we do. We have to, more importantly, we just have that feeling in us, we're against it, and there is a we, right? Problem is, in a way, people did oppose it in Tallaght, but what I'm saying is that the more you get places like Tallaght where everyone's foreign, it's totally unrooted and horrible, well, think of how enslaved everyone is then. Not just the Irish, the small minority of Irish people who live there, but even the foreigners at that point who live there. Yeah, they're suffering from bringing in 250,000 people and loads of them being shoved into communities, and they're being taken from a civilized, normal country where it's totally uncivilized. You can't get a medical appointment, you can't get a school place. You're like a total slave, right? You're not even in a civilization or any. You're like an absolute bug. And that would apply to even the existing foreigners, who the new foreigners are being brought in on. They're still people, you know what I mean? They're still people who live in the world and would prefer a good society than a bad one, I suppose. And yet they will be they and the Irish minority, just we're on human being level here, will be totally powerless because, well, there's some Africans, there's a small minority of Irish, there's this, there's that, the other. What are they all going to rally around and feel, oh, this is our place? So it's like, that's what you're going to be reduced to eventually as just human beings. It's like the only thing that pushes back on this level of crass, unbridled exploitation and misery is the national connection. That's why nation states formed and existed. That's what that idea and that natural unit of the nation, of an ethno-cultural sort of unit protected by a state, that's why that came about in the first place, was to push back against unbridled exploitation. And without it, you're sort of defenseless, right? As just an individual or a smattering of all sorts of people, totally defenseless. So that's what Tallaght made me think about today. Now, with that said, let's just watch some of the videos, right?
We'll get them.
Look, now these are doing a job, these are employed, but lads,
It doesn't
it's a
matter.
good
It's
laugh,
not on your doorstep, isn't it? It's not on you, that doorstep.
Like, you think when it is just a mishmash of like random people living in concrete blocks, basically, in the future, do you think like you're going to have 7 or 8 Roma gypsies, 21 Nigerians, 6 or 7 Irish people, 2 Estonians, you know, this kind of thing, all down there with the backing of all the rest of their communities, all in, you know, pushing back against the guards, who were all themselves diverse in the same split as the people pro. Do you think you're going to be able to? No, you won't even, you're just, at that point, you're just a rat in a cage. And that's it. But just saying. Like, the only reason this is happening is, as you can hear from the accent, it's only Irish people. There's some foreigners, supportive foreigners, God bless them, it's great. But in general, it's the only bloc pushing back, or who will ever push back against this, is Irish people here. And if it was happening in Estonia, it would be from the Estonians pushing back against it as a bloc. You know, so anyway, enough of that.
You're gonna have some work in your hands, and these men are placed in here because tell you, they'll be cut out for you.
Apparently they have them up in the apple either.
How does that work cut out?
We're always fucking streets ahead of you, fucking traders, every fucking one of you. Plenty overtime for traders. Overtime for traders, yeah? Fucking scum of the earth, everyone.
Scum of the earth. Yeah, so a little more here from now. This video is not PG rated, just this is journalism. I'm just covering what happened. You know, this video may contain coarse language which some viewers may find offensive. This guy absolutely roasted a guard into high heavens. You know, for better or for worse. Can I just ask the chat, genuinely, I know you want to be entertained, I know you do, but what do you think? This guy gives dog's abuse to this guard, and it involves all sorts of slurs and inflammatory language. Am I, one, if I'm safe to play this on YouTube, two, if it's just funny and I should just play it anyway, or one, if it's unwise for me to play it on YouTube and put myself in jeopardy. One, if I should be wise and not play it. Two, if I should entertain the people. Just let me know, you know what I mean, and be honest. And if I end up on Rumble, then you're going to have to follow me because it was your fault. Play it. I see a 1 and a 2. I see, you know, 2, 2, 2. I mean, it's a very unwise way for me to go about it. Oh, I had the statesman who I kind of would particularly be familiar with. He said 1, and I was like, well, if he says it, I should listen to him. And then he just said, no, I meant 2. Okay, I'll just play it. And for anyone who's looking and moderating, I condemn this kind of inflammatory language. I just want to raise awareness so that people can learn to be more respectful, particularly to frontline workers, and be respectful of different identities and different weights and the rest of it. So that's where I come from. But I think in the public interest, people should see this.
And there you go. And he fucking means it. He fucking means it. He ain't fucking welcome. Facilitating the rape of your kids. Facilitating the rape of your kids. Hey, she can fucking walk, you fat bitch, yeah. Get your hand off her, get your hand off her. Get your hand off her, you horrible woman, yeah. You horrible bastard, yeah. Keep your fucking hand off her, you horrible bitch. You smelly cunt, yeah. You lesbian scumbag. You scummy bitch. Go on, spitting you. Get that uniform off you. Shameful bastard. Doesn't even fit you. Shameful bastard, with your fucking ass, you fat cunt, yeah. It doesn't even fit you. Come back here, come on, she's gonna have you. Don't worry, bitch, don't let that bitch, man. Spitting all over me. Fucking slag bag. Calm down, you calm down in your area. They're coming to our fucking area. This is our area. We won't calm the fuck down. This is our fucking area. She's very fucking trigger handy, this one here it is. Get her home, she assaulted 2 people already, she has. Alice says no! What about the fucking Irish? Here, watch my phone here. Here. Watch this one. Control this dog, will you? Here, control this bitch. Control this one. Control this one. This is an animal. Control this animal here. Obviously, yeah, this is a boyfriend. This is a boyfriend. Watch. A boyfriend is there. Look at. Acting like you here. Let me tell you. You and your fucking happy finger. Look at her. Happy fucking finger. Yeah. No doik, she is. No doik. No doik. Here's your crew. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. Come on. Here's public order, everybody. Here we go with public order. What's the ambulance for?
All right, lads. So what you're going to have to do in return for me now, whether you do it now or at the end of the stream, is you'll have to click the link in the description of the video, or go to the description. You'll find my link tree, effectively. It's called Card. You go in there, and if you scroll down, there's an option for Rumble. It'll take you to my Rumble channel, and you can subscribe there. because if and when I end up on Rumble, I want to keep streaming to you like this, and I might end up there sooner rather than later after that. But that was what it was anyway. Just that's what you owe me now for entertaining you with that. So look, there's another subject there. I was going to talk about the left right thing and your man making his video about the migration and left and right and all that kind of stuff. But I see I've been live for an hour and 6 minutes. I'm trying to get these shorter. Do you know what happens is that after the hour, or after you kind of expend the energy talking about a core subject like I've just done for an hour, you start to tail off and get tired, and it's just not as interesting, and you know, that kind of thing. It's not as fun. So I've put myself out now to, I'd only be getting lost on the next thing if I start to try open up a whole new subject. It wouldn't work. So I will leave it there. Some of these spare subjects I'll put into maybe tomorrow night or some other night. And that's me basically for the night, lads. Mad, at one point there we were up on nearly 2,200 viewers. I'm absolutely blown away by that. I suppose it's just, look, there's so much going on. People are interested in these things. It's not even so much me. It's more like just the way things are, like, you know, everybody's paying attention. But so super chats. So Welsh Warrior very kindly, thank you very much, gives £50 and says good luck to you all in Ireland. Thank you. I know similar is going on in Wales and everywhere, especially Anglo countries, Anglophone countries, we'll say. So Britain and Ireland, Canada, Australia, US. I've never been to Wales. I'd love to go. There's such a you know, Welsh, Scottish, Irish people, Celts. I can't remember what your sort of Éireann Gabra thing is. Hit up the chat there, lads. What's that Welsh thing people say? I don't remember. But anyway, love Welsh people, and thank you very much for that. Good luck to you in Wales as well. So John the Average. Oh, sorry. You put chats up like this. So there it was on the screen. Yeah, I'm learning. So John the Average, $20, thank you very much, says it's time to start naming them. Okay, where are we going here? If you're Irish, you can request the names. Okay, I thought he was talking about naming someone else. If you're Irish, you can request the names of public officials through FOI requests. Garda officers, for example. No violence, but social excommunication. Police your communities. Yeah, that's a true thing. As I often think, like, even just the photograph of a guard's face at these events, it's like your photo is there now for your grandchildren to see that. So I don't know, the difference between you keeping your job as it is and having to go back to scratch and figure it out. I made a whole ramble on this like a week ago, so I won't get into it. But long story short is that no matter what situation you're in, you could always change tack and you would be able to figure it out. It'd be hard, it'd be tumultuous, but you would come out. Like, if you leave that situation, just refuse to do it, it might be tumultuous and hard for a while, but I guarantee you that if you're an upstanding person and you're willing to work and you're willing to figure things out and stuff, it's not like in 5 years you're just going to be destitute. You know, I stopped working on that plantation center. I stopped in being a Garda thug, regime enforcer, and now 5 years later I'm just homeless or something. Like, generally speaking, actually 5 years later it'll be like, oh no, I made a decision. It was tough for a while, and now I've doing whatever it else I'm doing. You will have figured it out. So it is your option. And it's like, would you rather that? It's a tough decision, it is. But would you rather that, or would you rather your grandchildren seeing your face on these videos? Because they're not going to go away. Your face, your badge number, your name, your FOI, whatever, you there on camera, even just standing there in the line of Gardaí, or worse again, beating someone up, pushing someone over, pepper spraying someone. You know, if you want that to be on your legacy, on your record, on your historical CV, then that's a you problem, I suppose we'll say. But yeah, thank you for the super chat, John the Average. So Air Only says institutional vessels subordinate this. Wait, sorry. Institutional vessels subordinate to state I'll try it again. Institutional vessels subordinate to state utilized to suppress communities who resist overnight replacement. Fifth columnist never loyal to Ireland. Yeah, so that's basically the guards. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's it. Like, basically, not good. Thank you for the super chat. Appreciate it. So, Armchair Limerick Nationalist, regular of the show. Sound. Good man. I just appreciate it. It's not even like a super chat thing or whatever, just but a regular viewer just in general. It's nice to I like that being the case. I like seeing regulars pop in. It's great. So Armchair Limerick Nationalist, €5. Thank you very much. Says, thank you for your good work, Garrett Murphy. Appreciate it. Thank you. And finally, Juliet Ashmore does a super sticker, whatever that is, but it's a thing, donation thing, £10. Thank you very so no comment. Thank you very much. Appreciate that. So yeah, those are the super chats, and that was the ramble. And I'll just emphasize again, I did mention it already. What someone says there, what's my Rumble or Discord? I'm not on Discord. I have Rumble. Click my link below in the description, and you can go. It's a link that'll take you to the rest of my links, including Rumble, Twitter, Telegram, Buy Me a Coffees, and all that. So yeah, still 2080, and I'm wrapping up. I'm very proud and pleased at this. So that's great. But just to emphasize again, say you want to send someone the Ballyogan spiel I did there, probably about half an hour in total. You want to send it to them, but you think, I don't want to send them a video where your man opens up and he starts talking about his interview with Keith Woods and, you know, he's not feeling great or rambling on for 7 minutes. I have to intro a show, and I'm going to talk shite for a while. And I'm also talking shite now at the outro. So you might not want either of those, or you might not want the Tallaght. Again, save from .com or whatever on, just Google YouTube downloader, then download the video, put it into a basic InShot, any basic trimming editing app, or even just do it within a WhatsApp or Telegram. And then I'm explaining it. You all know how to download and trim a video, right? Just trim out that portion, and then you can re-upload it online if you want to. Maybe not do it on YouTube. Don't compete with my actual video. But WhatsApp it on to people, post it on Twitter, whatever you like. That's, I mean, far from that being, that's a good thing for me. Like, you know, it gets the bit around. So I'm always going to be pleased with that. So, and it might be effective for spreading the message around too. So just so you know remember that's an option you can do. Another super chat, just last super chat in here from Teacher Connor, €5, says the government won't stop their plantation policy till they lose enough seats. Well, look, it's a whole other kind of worms. 6th of June. What I think is either it's going to be a total, I mean, this is obvious. It's either going to go three ways. It's either going to be like, we're going to be surprised at how many of our people get seats. This is really silly thing to say. We're either going to be surprised at how many people get seats, nationalist type people. We're either going to be surprised and disappointed the fact that it was a complete wipeout. In spite of all the support for these causes, it just didn't translate. People are too locked into the Fine Gael, Fianna Fáil thing. There's too many boomers voting for them, you know, and it's just a tragedy of the way it kind of propaganda and the electoral system works. Everyone might agree with a point, but they won't vote for that candidate, just some sort of inertia. And so that won't be the end of the world, but that's a possibility. Or probably the most likely one, which is that it wasn't a clean sweep. It wasn't a total blowout. There's some candidate who you think is kind of lukewarm got in, and then someone you think is proper got in, but loads of the rest didn't. But you got a toe in the door, and it's sort of something. It means it's the advent of a new era, and as we go forward, it would just be more and more. You know, it's like once you start the snowball rolling down the hill, that's the most important part to get it moving that first inch, isn't it? So that's just what I think about the electoral thing. But yeah, thank you for that chat all the same. I appreciate it. So I'll leave it there. I'll be back soon. Try to establish regular streaming times. I like keep it random though. It's handy for me as well. But look, I'll be back tomorrow, the next day, somewhere there. As always, thanks for watching, and take care of yourselves.